welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. As people are coming in, I am going to put the bit.ly in the chat. It is on the screen as well. So I'll continue to put that in there as people are joining in. But again, thank you so much for working all day in the schools today and then taking time out of your afternoon to join us. We greatly appreciate it and hope that this session will be informational and informative and helpful for you. If you have joined us before, welcome back. We appreciate you coming in. If this is your first webinar that you are attending with us, welcome. Catherine and I do these every month. We actually did 2 in January. So we appreciate you being here. Today's session, I think, is a great follow-up from last month's with technology enhanced items. Today is working smarter, not harder, with item banks. So we're going to go through the specifics of item banks and how you can use them to your advantage. Let me put that bit.ly in the chat one more time. All right, let's get started. All right, so Catherine, I stole your Bitmoji. First of all, we just want to say hello. My name is Rebecca Stokes. I am the SchoolNet product manager for NCDPI, and you can see my email address right here. Please use that. Keep it. You can contact me at any time with any assistance that you may need with SchoolNet. And we also have the wonderful Catherine Simone here with us. Catherine, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. Catherine Simone, Implementation Manager for Pearson for the SchoolNet platform, and welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. And just for bandwidth, I am going to turn off my camera. I'll cut it back on at the end. But as we all know, with sharing your screen and hosting this meeting, my Wi-Fi is going to be upset with me. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the video, but I will cut it back on in just a little bit.
Same here, everyone.
All right, so our agenda for today, like I said, we are specifically talking about item banks today. So we're going to go over the different item banks that are available in SchoolNet, the uses for these item banks, and then we're going to talk about how you can create your own item banks, and then how to add items to the bank, saving your favorite items, and then how to copy multiple items as well. All right, and one of the questions that comes up a lot is CEUs. So just want to go over that. So for participation in today's live webinar, you do get 0.1 CEUs, which is equal to 1 hour of credit. And just remember that 10 hours of credit equals 1 whole CEU. And that is for participating in the live session of the webinar. The type of credit that you will get is determined by your school or district. So I will send you a CEU certificate after the webinar. It usually takes about a day or 2 for me to get that out to you. And then you'll submit that to your school or district following those protocols. And they will determine what type of credit you will receive. And how will you receive this credit? So you must be in the live webinar, which all of you that are in here obviously are in our live webinar. And I will email out the participants from the data of this meeting. Like it says within 5 business days, but it usually only takes me about 1 or 2. And I will email you that certificate. Unfortunately, we cannot give credit for watching the recorded webinar. So if any of your coworkers happen to view this later in the week or next week, we unfortunately cannot give CEUs for that, only if you are in the session with us today. So we appreciate you being here. All right. Okay, so first off, oh, and I forgot to cover this, but I always say this, please at any time that you have questions, put it in the chat, or you can unmute and ask Catherine and I. We know that questions come up, so please do not feel like you need to save them to the end, because if you are like me, you will forget what your question was. So please feel free to insert those questions at any time, and we are happy to pause and get those questions answered before we move on. Okay, all right. So item banks, which ones are in SchoolNet? So I want to provide a little explanation here. If you are familiar with the SchoolNet item banks, then you will notice that I do have two that are missing. So we have a Certica 12.1 item bank. This is the updated Certica item bank. You do have in your item bank list a Certica. It does not have 12.1. It just says Certica item bank. And the reason why we did not include that in this list is because that item bank will be leaving over the summer. So we just want to encourage users to go ahead and just be in the practice of using the Certica 12.1 because of the just plain Certica item bank being removed over the summer because we now have the updated item bank. So that is why you will see the Certica and the Certica Spanish missing from this list. They are still going to show up on your end, but they will be removed over the summer. All right, so we have the Certica 12.1 item bank as well as the Certica Spanish 12.1 item bank. Both of these are from the Certica company. We also have the NCDPI Classroom Bank and the NCDPI Benchmark Bank. But we do want to clarify that with the Benchmark Bank, these are protected items that are only for district level assessments, meaning that you have to have district level access or security rights to see this bank. So if you are a classroom teacher, you should not see this in your list, but not to worry, it's not supposed to be there. That is only for district level. So that's why you may not see this item bank in your list. If you are a CTE teacher, then we do have a CTE item bank just for CTE courses. We have a NCDPI released item bank. So these are going to be questions from the release assessments from NCDPI. We also have a math sets bank. And Catherine, correct me if I'm wrong, is the math sets bank that's for 9 through 12 math, correct?
No, that is, we have math sets. Pretty sure it starts at 3rd grade, Rebecca, but I'm checking right now.
That's why I have you here, Catherine, because I was thinking the math sets was just for upper grades. So I'm so glad you just corrected me on that.
Nope, definitely starts at 3rd grade. Definitely.
Perfect.
And I'll show
Thank
those
you.
when you finish with this slide. I can show those.
Perfect. Thank you. See y'all. That's why I bring her, because I needed correction on that. So the math sets is for 3rd through 12th grade, not just upper grades. And we also have the 2013 to 2016 SchoolNet items in that item bank. And then we have an NCFE item bank, but just like the benchmark bank, these are protected items only for district level assessments, meaning that you will only see that if you have district level access. All right, so we already have a question. Perfect. Thank you.
Answered it.
Oh, thank you, Catherine. You're so quick.
I was trying to type. I'm not a very good typist, but hi, Christy. Once an item is on a test, then it will remain on the test. It would not be pulled off the test. I'm just removing the items that are essentially an item bank is like a folder that's holding those questions. So we're just removing that folder from view, but your tests will remain intact. And you might like one of the features we're going to show you today with saving items you have on a test to your own bank. So we'll show you that in a little bit.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you for, looks like Alda that put the bit.ly in the chat for me. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And Jennifer, I see your message. Not to worry. I will make sure I make a note of that. Okay. Let's move on. All right, so some uses for item banks. So if you were in attendance with our technology enhanced item webinar that we had in January, we talked about how once you convert some of your items into technology enhanced items that you could save them to your own bank. So that's why this session is a great session to have right after that so that we can show you how to do that. So some uses for item banks. You can have a classroom bank organized by course or grade level, which is great, especially if you are in a school where there are multiple teachers that teach the same grade and subject as you. You could share this within a PLC, grade level, or subject area. So it's a great way to collaborate together and put all of the hard work that you are doing with questions in SchoolNet and save them all to a bank together. You could also have shared banks at the district level for formative assessments that your district may do. You could have shared banks at the district level by course or grade level. So at like central office level, they could create a 8th grade science item bank, and then all of the 8th grade science teachers within the district could have access to that. So that's just one idea. Another way is you could have an item bank just for beginning teacher support. Or you could even have your own private item bank for developing school and district benchmarks at the district level. And then, of course, you already have access to your own personal item bank, which is a private item bank just to you.
Rebecca, can I share a use case here?
Of course.
Okay, so with all these different uses for banks, I like to give teachers an idea. So let's just say I'm a science teacher and I have been giving formative assessments all along, maybe exit tickets or, 2 questions here, 5 questions there. And now it's time for either a unit test or a benchmark or something at the end of the chapter. If I save those individual items that I've administered on these short formatives and I drop them in the bank, I can then pull them into a test and change them up a little bit. If you were with us last time on the TEI items, you saw how to modify the items. So same content, but a little different format, maybe a little different questioning when you pull it on the test. So you're basically not starting from scratch again. You've used this content for your formatives, and now you're going to pull it into some type of unit or chapter assessment. But saving it to the bank allows you to reuse the items in a different way without recreating them from scratch. So basically, hopefully saving you some time.
Which is why our title is Working Smarter, Not Harder.
Oh,
so Catherine is going to show us some, Catherine's going to show us some good tips of how to save some time by using these item banks. Okay, all right, so we are actually going to hop over to the training site because if you have attended any of Catherine or my sessions, you know that we like to work off of the live site and not off of the presentation. So we do have the presentation here for you to be able to access later, but we're actually going to show a live demo of how to do this. So we have the training site up here. I'm actually going to put it in the chat.
Oh, good, because I'm going to share my site now.
I'll say, let me know if I need to stop sharing mine, if it'll.
No, I think I can get to. Oh, yes. Let's see.
Okay.
I need to stop sharing. Okay, I think I got it. It says it's working. Spinning.
Oh my goodness, I was so confused, and y'all, I'm completely transparent. The captions and highlights were showing, and I thought it was the chat, and it was just showing what I was saying. So I was very confused of what was happening. Okay, so I do have the bit.ly for the training site in the chat, and the login that you can use is in the presentation. And then, like I said, Catherine is going to do a live demo of how to do these things that are in the presentation for you.
Can you see my training site? Because it's not coming up on my WebEx screen. But it
I
says
can.
You can. Oh, awesome.
Yes.
All right. It says it's shared, but I'm like, why can't I see it on my screen? Okay. Oh, I love all the different online technologies. Awesome. Okay. So let me start it back at the beginning. Sorry, I jumped ahead on everyone. On your home screen, I did log in as administration because I wanted to show you a different thing in here. I know you're logging in as a teacher, but I just wanted to show you both aspects. So if you're playing along, mostly everything's the same. One thing I just want to point out while I'm here, you'll see this in the end, but on the production and the training site splash page, you're going to see all our upcoming webinars, and you can click the link to register right from SchoolNet, and all our new content is listed here. If you click this, it's going to give you a list of all the new items by the search date in all the item banks. So I just wanted to point that out before we got started on that. All right, and back to SchoolNet.
And Catherine, I'm going to pause you for just a second.
Sure.
Sorry. So I do have somebody in the chat that said they can only see a screen that says Catherine. So I just wanted to check, is anybody else having trouble seeing Catherine's screen? Because I know I can see it.
Uh-oh. Okay. That's what I was afraid of, because I am not seeing my own screen in the window. So that's what I wanted to make sure.
Okay. So others are saying that they can see it. So Rosalind, the only thing I can think is if you need to make it full screen. Thank you everyone for letting me know that you can see it. Okay, I just wanted to check. So yeah, Rosalind, make your window full screen. So it might be that it was just the view, or you can click on layout at the top and it should be able to show her screen. Sorry, Catherine. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Am I still displaying my training site?
Oh, yep.
Okay.
You are, and now Rosalind can see it. So perfect.
All right, perfect. Okay, from the home screen, if you're familiar with the navigation, if not, I'll review it. On the left blue navigation, we're going to drop down to assessments here, click the down arrow, and we are going to go down here to item banks. So just a quick review of what Rebecca had shown 2 slides back. These are the item banks. The Certica, we didn't list the old Certica bank, but you see it here. 12.1 Spanish, CTE folks, math sets does start at 3rd grade, classroom items, release items. Again, if you're an admin, in the production site, you're going to see the benchmark items, etc. Those restricted banks. Okay. All right. Let's go to, you'll let me know if there's any questions, because you know I talk fast, right, Rebecca? Just checking.
I will. Yes, I will let you know.
Okay, we're going to go to the next slide, and I'm going to show you how to create an item bank. So what I like to do is set my item bank up first. You do have the directions in the slide deck, but if you're viewing my training site, right from the item bank screen, top right corner, you see a button, create a new item bank. I click on this. I get a pop-up window. Are you seeing the pop-up window? Just checking.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. You're going to give your item bank a name. So I'm going to call this, let's see, simple item bank. Okay. You must give it a description. Just like anything in SchoolNet, if it has the little asterisk, you need to fill it in. So I'm going to just call this sample. This could be item banks I've created before, like ELA, grade 3, and the name of the school, maybe something like that. All right. The next thing is I logged in as an HB, as a district leader. Okay. So when you create a bank, it's going to say your name right here. All right. It lists you as the owner. So let's say we are a group of 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade language arts teachers. Okay. And in our school, maybe there are 10 of us. Okay. You can click the people button and start adding people by name if you wanted to. So I know Rebecca's in here, so I am going to start typing her last name. And that's how you would search the person. Now, once you start adding people individually, what you need to decide is what permissions you are going to give this person. So let me go over these permissions. View only means that people can see, read, and add the items to their tests. They cannot edit items within the bank, and they do not have permissions to share the bank with anyone else. Okay, so that's view only. View and edit, I can view the items, I can add them to my tests, and I can edit them within the bank. So why is editing them within the bank important? Because let's just say I created the items and I had a typo. Well, Rebecca can go in and she can correct my typo when within the bank when she sees my items. So it's always good to have someone else that can edit. Also, manage. We've had a lot of cases with this, so I really want to bring up this point. If you are creating a bank for a group of teachers or admins, staff within your building, district, etc., it's always good to have more than one manager on the bank. Why? The instance I have to share the example is we had a CTE teacher who had created beautiful CTE banks for different courses. And then the person switched districts. There was not another manager on the bank. So I myself, Rebecca, had to be added to the bank so that we could facilitate the sharing of the bank. If you have another manager, there will always be someone that can share out the bank, okay, with us if needed, or someone else in the district. If there's only one manager, and I'm cautioning this, and that person moves to another district, the access to the bank will be lost. I could probably find it, but it might be a little tough. So rule of thumb, at least two managers on a bank, and then you can make your own decisions about who has view and edit rights, etc. But let's just say I give Rebecca manage rights here. I can add more people if I want. If I have elevated rights, I can actually choose schools to share it with. Okay. So that's another option. So I'm going to add Rebecca. And since this is the training site, I don't have a lot of other names to share with. So I'm just going to leave her there. When I'm finished, I say add people. Now I can see, and I check it right here, that there myself, another manager. You can always delete a person. Let's say they leave here. You can change their permissions here. You can actually switch ownership of the bank, which was what I was referring to. Let's say I left and Rebecca was going to have control. Before I left, I would make her the owner of the bank. Okay. And then the last piece is to create the bank. Okay. So when I scroll down here in a second, when my screen stops bubbling, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to see sample item bank right here. Okay. Any questions about how to start the bank? Okay.
No, I'll say none in the chat.
Okay, great. All right. First thing I want you to notice is I have my name, my description, the owner of it. Right now it has 0 items. If I needed to go back and add additional people to the bank, if you are the owner, notice how these other ones say view only, but this one says manage. That's because I am the owner of the bank. So if or I'm the manager, so Rebecca will also see it. But if I'm the manager, I can always click on this button, or link, I should say. I can go and add more people. Let me just pick a random name here, see if somebody comes up. Let me add myself in there. Okay. Make that person the manager. Add. Now there's 3 people on this bank, and I save. Okay. Also, and I apologize, this is not in the slide deck, but while we're viewing this, if you've never noticed these check buttons here before, when you go to create a test and you search banks, if this button is not checked in your view of the item banks, then it won't search. It'll remove it from your search. Okay, so just one thing to consider. So why would I remove an item bank? Well, let's just say I'm an ELA teacher. I don't need the math sets. Let's say I'm an elementary ELA teacher. I don't need the CTE banks, so I'm going to remove that from my search. So there's kind of different reasons why I might remove an item bank from my search. So I just want to make sure I point that out there. Okay.
And I just want to point out too that a lot of people have emailed about seeing only Spanish questions. If you do not need Spanish questions, you can uncheck that Certica Spanish item bank, and then those Spanish questions will not show when you are searching. So just wanted to point that out too.
Correct. Okay. So that's the item banks. That's how to create the bank. Now, what I want to show you is actually how to get the items in a bank. So the easiest way that I like to use is I've already created a test in here. I used it for my last presentation, so I'm going to go back to that one. This converting items for TEI math. Okay. And this test did we? Oh, we didn't schedule this one, did we, Rebecca? Oh, it'll still work. Okay. Let me just go back and show you that real quick. So this item, this test, notice is in private draft. If the test is in private draft, you're not going to have the option to add the items to the bank. The test needs to be moved from private to finalize. So let me show you that on the test stages. So this test was a draft when I was working on it and creating it. And then I looked at it and I said, okay, this one's ready to go. So I clicked, there was a button here that said finalize. And as long as the test is at least in the finalized stage, it could be in the scheduled or completed, but it must be at least in stage 2. As long as it is, this is the test details page, just a reminder for everyone. When I'm in the test details page and I scroll to the very bottom of all my questions, as long as the test is at least in stage 2, I am going to see a link that says add all items to item bank. Okay. Now, there's a little condition there. If the items are already linked to a bank, it will not re-add them. So let me show you what I mean by that. If I change from item summary to item details, and I go to, let me go to, wonder if I have one on here. Let me see if I have one on here. I might not have all these might be unlinked. I'm not 100% sure. And I apologize for that if I don't have one. Okay, here's one. So this item I pulled from one of the item banks. It says, and you'll see this right at the top of the item. Item from item bank, etc. And I can unlink it. Okay. So let me just caution you that if on the previous page It's not complicated, but I just want to make sure, be really transparent with the conditions of how this works. If I click this button right now and I say add all items to item bank, it will only pull the items that I've either modified or unlinked from the bank. So in the scenario that, let's just say I am using the math sets item and I've made a test and I've pulled 10 questions that I really like, but I may want to use them in a different way, not exactly the same test. So I want to put them in my personal bank or the bank that I just created so that I don't have to search for them again. So what I need to do with those is I need to unlink them from the bank, from within the test. So it's a real simple step. And I know I'm jumping slides, but it's all part of the process. I unlink, done. This one's ready to go. I know this one I created myself. It doesn't have that link. I can go, all the multiple choice were the ones that needed to unlink. I unlink it. If you modify the item, then you already unlinked it. So you don't need to do this step. Okay. So I'm going to unlink a couple of these. Then I'm going to go back to the return to test detail, save my changes just so I can demonstrate. And at the bottom here, I'm going to click this link, add items to item bank. And notice, because I am not the manager or an editor of any other bank in the trading site, as I'm logged in as this leader, I have my own personal bank, which only I can see, or I can put it in this sample item bank that I just shared with Rebecca. The third option is I can create a brand new bank if I want. Okay. I kind of like to create the bank first, but everyone has their own process. So I completely understand if you want to create the bank through the test. That's 100% fine. Once I choose the bank that the items are going to, I just click the blue button. Takes a minute and it's saving. I'm going to return back here to my assessments item bank. And when I go down here, now I see my item bank has 13 items. Okay. I did see a question pop up. Let's see. See if I can find that again. Do you see the question, Rebecca?
Yep, I'm trying to answer them
Oh,
in
okay.
the chat.
Oh, are you talking about tests or item banks, Amy? Oh, if the teacher created a My Classroom test, which is the only permission the teachers get, you're not going to see the test.
And I was about to tell her too that if they created the test in a co-author folder, then they wouldn't see that test either, correct?
Correct. The
Yep.
best thing to do if they're co-authoring is always have at least one admin on the co-author folder. I highly recommend that. So, Amy, are these tests because you're trying to work with the teacher? Oh, we often co-author together and then they have to take it out to schedule it. Well, there's another option there. If everyone's using the same test, then you could pull it out and schedule it as like a school level assessment. And then it would go to everyone in your group. That's another option. You can still see the results once the test is administered. It'll still show up. Does that help? Okay. All right. Okay, that was a little different than item banks. Any questions about how to create the new item bank and then basically dump items from your test to the item bank? Any questions about that? Can we use test items from the county? Rebecca, help. I don't know what the county sets are. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just about to ask. I'm wondering if the county sets, is that something that just your district created? Is that an item bank that your district created by chance? Let's see. She said once these tests have been given, we have scheduled SchoolNet tests. Yes. Okay. So if your district created it, then it just depends on the permissions that your district has given to the teachers within the district. So where Catherine was showing about the access of view or view and edit or manage, it just depends on whoever created that item bank for your district, what permissions they gave the teachers, if that makes sense. Okay, great. Thank you. And let's see. And Amy, no worry about being off topic. You let us know at any time you need any assistance. And that's why I put my email address in there as well. We never want you to feel like you do not have help. So Catherine and I are here for you.
I was going to say, if you need help, just let us know with those and we can walk you through at another time some ideas for those tests. Okay, and then, oh, okay, easy enough that the teachers will not have access to. Okay, I'm assuming that, oh, that was to me privately. Sorry, somebody sent one to me. It says, do you want me to answer that to the group? I'm guessing. Sorry. Oh, it could be public. Thank you. I just wanted to I didn't want to say something that I wasn't supposed to say out loud. Okay. So the question is, explain how I can create an item bank that the teachers will not have access to. Okay, that's easy enough. I gave the example of creating an item bank where I'm adding my peers. But if I basically, you don't need to add teachers to the bank. If you add other leadership people to the bank, or you don't have to include if you're a district level person. So in training, it's a little difficult to see that this O1 home-based training is actually the district. And then I have the option to select a school here. Okay. But if I am just choosing a district level bank, I don't need to add individual people or teachers to it. I would just put one other admin on the bank just as a manager. So if something, you know, just have another person to support the bank if something happened. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Yeah, you do not need to add. I was just using that as an example to put the teachers on. I probably should have said it could just be admins on the bank if you wanted to, principals or coaches, however you wanted to handle it. So no, the teachers, if I don't add you to my bank, you can't see it. Okay. And that's pretty much with any of them. So when I created you can see my name here. I created most of these banks in here, but when I create them, I share them out to all the districts based on the permissions. And, there's an option, I get an option as a SysOp in the system to add just people with leadership permissions or just teachers. But yours will just be whoever you choose to add to your bank. Hopefully that helps you out. Good. Great questions, everybody. I really appreciate that. Thanks for jumping in there and participating. Okay. Let me go back to my slide to make sure where I was. All right, so I'm adding items to the bank. So let's talk about this. I showed you one method. You can take an existing test and you can, um, you know, take the items from there and add them. Let's just say I created the items. The other option is, and I made the next slide, I said, save your favorite items, because let's just pretend, let me go back to that math sets item and use that example that I'd given earlier. I spent all the time choosing, okay, these, and I'm randomly picking now, but let's pretend I spent time choosing these items and I add them to a test, and or maybe I'm not even administering this test. Maybe I'm just collecting these and I want to use them for future use. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create it, and I've done this a lot of times. It's kind of like a little workaround, we'll call it. So I'm just going to call this test my items, because these are the ones I want to save. And I already know their math in this instance. And I think I picked third grade, but not sure. So I'm just creating this test really quick, and school level assessment. And I don't care about restricting it at all. No restrictions. I'm going to generate the test. Okay. Maybe I never schedule this test. I don't need to. Okay. And just to review what I had just shown you previously, to make sure I brought that point clear, I like these questions. Maybe I want to revise them in the bank and use them later. I'm just going to quick unlink them all. And because I like them and I want to make sure that I have them for later, and maybe I'm going to change them up. So I unlinked all the questions, and it's right under the item type where the unlink is. I return to test details. And remember, this is private, and I can't, just to demonstrate, there's no link down here when it's private. All I have to do is click this finalize button. It doesn't mean it goes to the students. No one sees it. I can leave this test right there just the way it is forever and ever. Or I can delete it after the fact if I want. But here's my button, add all items. There's my sample bank. I'm going to save it. And now the time that I spent picking those items, those are in my bank. If I want to get rid of this test, I can. Okay. And that is a way to save your favorite items. If the test is already scheduled, instead of the edit, you have to use, or once it's in the finalized, you have to use the modified button. So just to clarify that, that's the direction you see on the slide. Okay. All right. While I'm in this test, I want to demonstrate something else. And that's on the next slide. If you're following the slide deck, I'm moving on to slide 11. So this is a new feature, but since we were talking about item banks, I thought this was relevant. Once, you know, you have a test to get, you've put a test together, it's ready to go. Not in the item summary view, that's this tab, but I have to go to item details. I then see this, oops, sorry, my mouse is scrolling without me. Copy multiple items, okay? If I click this button, I have the option to choose 1, 2, 3, 4 items, whatever I choose. I have the ability to, I select them, and then once I click that, you see this changes. It says selected items to copy. I hit copy. Are you sure you want to copy the selected items? Yes, I'm sure. Copy. And then I get the option to create these in a new test, or add these to an existing test. Okay, and then if I'm adding them to an existing test, I can just click select. So with those TEI items that you saw last month, that's how I copied them over and then I edited them. So just a new feature. I wanted to make sure that we pointed out to everyone and that you had a chance to see. So if I create a new test, it just takes me to that page where I set up my test. If I'd used the other one, it would just bring up an existing test. So I wanted to make sure I pointed that out to everyone. Okay. Let's see. What's that next one? Sorry, Rebecca. Oh, okay. I think that was my last slide for this. Questions, comments about the item banks? Any questions about anything in SchoolNet?
And none in the chat, but since you just opened it up to any questions, hopefully some will get put in there. But while we are waiting, I'm going to take control back from you.
Absolutely. I've never actually finished a presentation on time, so I'm so proud of myself today.
I know this is a first for us. Normally we're saying, sorry, we are over. Okay, let's see here. Let me go through.
I have the chat, so.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Okay. So while we are waiting to see if anyone has any questions, we do want to point out some SchoolNet resources that we have for you. Again, we never want you to feel like you are not supported. So you can, of course, reach out to us with any questions that you have. And we also have these resources here that are on DPI's website. So the first thing is the training site. That we put in the slide deck. It is also in the splash page for you as well, but we have it linked here. So you can access that training site anytime that you want to experiment or play around with something before actually doing it in your production site. You are free to use the training site to be able to do that. We also have some SchoolNet videos. This just is going to link you to DPI's YouTube page, but specifically the SchoolNet playlist. We also have some courses in NESIS that you can take, but what I wanted to actually click on and point out is that link that said SchoolNet resources. Let me go back here. It was this one right here. So if you click there, what it's going to do is it's going to take you to our website on DPI and specifically to the SchoolNet resources. So in this first area here, we have quick reference documents that are all linked. So if you, let's say, for example, if you are going through and you want to see how to schedule an assessment, let's just click on this one. Let's say that you haven't been using SchoolNet or you are a brand new teacher and you're wondering about scheduling an assessment. You can click on this link here and it's going to take you to a quick reference document that's going to include step-by-step directions of what to do, as well as screenshots included in there so you can see exactly those steps for the particular topic that you are looking for. So this one is 4 pages long just because it is that detailed. So it'll answer every question you possibly have on the topic of, for this one, just scheduling assessments. So I do want to point out that we have a lot of quick reference documents for you, and they're also sorted by category. So you can see all of these are just on assessments, and then we have some basics, data and reporting as well, and then we get into items and materials. But below this, scroll down, are all of our training presentations. So if you, if this is your first webinar that you've attended with Catherine and I this year, then we have linked all of the ones that we did. I believe we started in November I believe, Catherine, is when we started this. So we have all of our webinars that we've recorded this year linked in here. So you'll see, so we did a technology enhanced items in SchoolNet webinar in January. The YouTube link is right here to that recorded webinar. But then we also have ones you can kind of see the dates from last year with John, and then the year before with Pam. So some of these go all the way back to 2019. So we have all of those linked for you as well in here. So I did want to point that out, that there are always ways to find help if you did not want to reach out to Catherine or myself, but we are happy to help you at any time. All right, and one other thing. Oh, and good call, Catherine. I forgot that I wasn't sharing my camera. Actually see people again.
Once I stopped presenting, I was able to turn mine back on again.
Yeah. We do just want to share with you our upcoming SchoolNet sessions. And as Catherine mentioned, these are on the teacher and leadership splash page. You'll be able to click on those links and register just like you did for this one. But I went ahead and marked out February since we are in that currently. But in March, we're going to talk about learner profiles and how you can create personalized learning profiles using data in SchoolNet. April is going to be a fun one because it's just all things SchoolNet. So all of your how do I do this in SchoolNet questions answered. So that one will be a great one just because we are hoping that people will just put questions in the chat of things that you have wondered how you do in SchoolNet. So it'll be a working session based off of the participants' questions. And then in May, we're actually going to do a repeat session of technology enhanced items. We decided to go ahead and move that into January with the testing news that came out in December. So we thought it may be helpful to have a repeat session in May for that as we got closer to EOC and EOG. So that is the rest of this year in SchoolNet sessions. You can register by clicking here, or you can register on DPI's website where you found this link as well. We thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you in March. And we hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.